Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your host for today, Kush Jumbo.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it again for the amazing Guildhall students. It's actually really impossible to listen to brass music without being happy, isn't it? You cannot sit there miserably and listen to brass music. A very warm welcome to the Labour Creatives Conference. Thank you to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama for hosting us in this spectacular venue and theatre. It's a very exciting day that we have for you. It's going to be packed with an agenda where we're going to be joined by so many arts leaders, practitioners and supporters of the arts. The day will feature 3 panels focusing on skills, the economy, and lastly, how the UK's cultural assets contribute to our soft power globally. Well, I've never said that in a sentence before. I love it, soft power. So, those things are so important, and so too is how important the arts and culture are for humanity and for our country. So, why am I here standing at the Labour Creatives Conference? Why are the arts important to me? Well, frankly, I wouldn't be standing here speaking to you if the arts hadn't had a massive impact on my life. I grew up in an area where I didn't have a lot economically. I grew up somewhere where I probably, if somebody had said, you'll be playing some of the greatest Shakespearean roles in the canon by the time you're 30, I would have laughed at them. And I grew up somewhere where, frankly, it was quite difficult to get through the school day without someone throwing a chair across the room. So to stand here now in front of you as someone that has played many Shakespearean roles, has an OBE from the Queen, has travelled the world, produces my own television and theatre, and is currently directing a show at Regent's Park for children who are neurodiverse. Please come and see Bear Snores On. I think that the arts have had a direct impact on how I've become not just an actor and a creative, but actually, I suppose, a productive member of society. And I know that the direct link that we have between arts and the economy. And so I do quite like, actually, that it said soft power, because I'm really sick of people talking about them as soft subjects. And I think we should stop using that term. They're not soft subjects. They do have soft power, and they do make a hell of a lot of money, and we're very, very, very good at it. So I'm very excited to be here supporting this event. So, with that being said, I'm now delighted to introduce our first speaker of the day, the principal of the Guildhall School, Professor Jonathan Vaughan.
Esteemed Shadow Cabinet members and distinguished guests, as Principal of the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. Founded nearly 150 years ago by the City of London Corporation, Guildhall School stands as a beacon of creativity and excellence. And today, the City Corporation is one of the UK's largest funders of arts, culture and heritage, managing and supporting many leading institutions, including the Barbican Centre, Museum of London, Tower Bridge, and the London Metropolitan Archives. Here at Guildhall School, we have over 1,000 students from 60 nations. We're proud to be one of the world's top 10 performing arts institutions and ranked #1 in the UK league tables from both The Guardian and the Complete Universities Guide. Our innovation and research were also recognised as world-leading in the latest Research Excellence Framework. Whether in awe-inspiring performances or groundbreaking productions, the brilliance of our young artists never fails to inspire. I hope you enjoyed the performance of Guildhall Brass 22 and our string players as you arrived. Our supremely talented alumni, from Hollywood stars to Grammy winners, showcase the transformative power of artistic education. Notably, in an audacious demonstration of transferable skills, one of our former students even ascended to become leader of the Labour Party. So, Keir, it's a great pleasure to welcome you back. As we all know, the arts are not merely expressions of culture, but contribute an estimated £125 billion per year to the economy and employ over 2.5 million people. Here in the City of London, our proximity to some of the world's largest financial institutions further reflects our sector's economic potential. In navigating the challenges of arts funding and the integration of technology, we must continue to foster and champion creative partnerships and cultural diversity. The arts enrich and illuminate our humanity and fuel the great British success story of this country's creative talent. UK creativity is recognised around the world. Let's do more to celebrate and champion it globally. Reflecting on my own journey from a comprehensive school in a coal mining town, I am aware that without free music lessons, I would not be standing here today. Which is why our Guildhall Young Artists programme is dedicated to lifelong learning by providing weekly opportunities to 1,600 school children, 40% of whom come from underrepresented backgrounds. We believe that by investing in the creative dreams of every child, regardless of their background, we not only enrich our cultural sector, but also empower individuals to chart their own path to success. Thank you to Shadow Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Thangam Debonair, and to Guildhall School Board member Emily Benn, two halves of the statutory instrument string quartet, for making today happen. Thank you to the team at the Labour Party and to colleagues at Guildhall School and the City Corporation for all their work behind the scenes over the past days and months. And thank you, all of you, for coming today. Please visit us again and support our wonderful students. I hope you have a brilliant day.
Of course, they put my chair furthest away from the lectern. Thank you very much, Professor Jonathan Vaughan. I would like to take a moment to thank the Bank of America and Bloomberg Philanthropies for supporting today's fantastic event. Thank you very much. And also for their long-standing support for the arts, which spans a wide variety of programmes, from digital access to conservation of national treasures. I am now delighted to introduce a man who wants to put the creative industries at the heart of his plan. Labour leader Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Kush, and thank you for that warm reception. It is really fantastic to be here today. And there are a lot of people that we need to thank for making all of this possible. Bank of America and Bloomberg Philanthropies for their support for today's event, but more importantly, their long-standing support for the arts. And thanks to the Guildhall, of course, as well, to Jonathan and Emily, for welcoming us to this wonderful venue. It's been quite a while since I was last here. In fact, if I remember rightly, I was with long hair and flared jeans when I was last here. But for 6 years of my life, I came here every single week, every Saturday, starting when I was 11 years old. I would set off from my village of Hurst Green on the train to London, Victoria, with my flute under my arm, to spend the day here as part of the Junior Exhibitioners programme. Don't worry, I can see. I haven't got my flute with me today. I'm not going to subject you to that. But actually listening to that incredible performance just now that we just heard reminded me of the thrill of playing myself at the festival hall, because the opportunities that music gave me. My first ever trip abroad was to Malta with the Croydon Youth Philharmonic Orchestra. And so you will know that excitement you feel when you have an encounter with the arts that changes your life. Everyone in the room will know that feeling. The sense, I suppose, of being drawn into something that seems bigger than ourselves, of being truly moved by a piece of music, a painting, or a play, or losing yourself and finding something new in the space that art creates. These encounters with art and culture change us forever, and they certainly changed me forever. And when I left my little village of Hurst Green and went to the city of Leeds to go to university, I discovered a whole new world of indie bands, Orange Juice, Wedding Present, back then with a guitar that was lent by my good friend John. And even now, listening to Beethoven or Brahms as I read the Sunday papers takes the edge off some of the more uncomfortable stories. And that's the power of your industry. It is not just a nice to have. It's essential for our economic growth as well as our personal growth, who we are. 2.4 million people working in the creative industries. It's worth £125 billion, and that is growing fast. The UK is one of only 3 net exporters of music. We have the second largest art market on the planet. Only the US exports more advertising than us. And that's not the only thing. Nobody exports more books than we do. And as you can imagine, when I meet international leaders, I know I'm standing on the shoulders of our cultural reputation, our music, our films, our games, fashion, literature. What we make and produce is not only known, it's loved in every corner of the globe. And so you're not just important to Brand Britain, you are Brand Britain, attracting major investment from companies all over the world who do recognise and value British talent. I was with the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery recently, and he was telling me about the investment that they're putting into studios in the UK and why they're doing it. And that's like making films like Wonka. Now, it's a real hit with my kids, I don't know about you. It was absolutely amazing. But at home as well as abroad, the creative industries have the power and potential for levelling up. Like nobody else, you just heard some stories this morning about levelling up. Look at the leading industries in towns and cities around the country. Gaming in Leamington Spa, Dundee and Guildford. TV production in Cardiff, Yorkshire, Salford and Leeds. Music and live entertainment in Manchester, Liverpool, Wakefield, wherever we are, frankly. Fashion in Leeds and London. Publishing in Peterborough, Oxford and Cambridge. World-class industries, all of them. And it's time we got behind them. And that's why today we're launching a sector plan to support the entire ecosystem of the creative industries, recognising them as a force for growth as well as a force for good. Because while, of course, we welcome the investment and tax reliefs announced in the budget last week, and frankly, we're proud that it was the last Labour government that introduced that tax relief in the first place, the truth is the government doesn't have a strategy for the arts. No recognition of its fundamental role in the economy, health, education, or our global standing. No plan to harness the potential of creative industries, and no ambition to safeguard its future and support the next generation. Because actually, under the Tories, we've seen a crisis in creativity in our schools. 14 years now of art subjects being diminished and devalued. GCSE enrolment in art subject is down by 47%. And it's working-class kids who bear the brunt of that collapse in the arts. That's why, as Bridget Phillipson, our fantastic Shadow Secretary of State for Education, said on Monday, a Labour government would put creativity at the heart of the curriculum. Because right now, one of the measures of excellence is the Tory EBAC, an accountability measure that values Latin and ancient Greek, but not music, drama, or art. Seriously, in what world does learning to act, dance, sing, or paint count less than learning a language from more than 1,000 years ago? The ancient Romans and Greeks would actually have had quite a lot to say about that. So from day one, Labour will reform the school accountability framework to make sure that arts count. So we're going to update the Progress 8 performance measure and use it to help all kids study a creative arts subject or sport until they're 16. And we will review the curriculum more widely. So creativity and oracy, confident speaking, how important is that? Is woven into everything our children learn. Speaking skills are so important to disadvantaged children, a massive part of the class ceiling. It's about helping every child find their voice, learn who they are and what they believe, and tell their own story in their own way. And that's the power of art in a nutshell. Every young person must have access to music, art, design, and drama. That is our mission. Because we know that for our creative industries to flourish, every child needs to be given a chance. Now, we're lucky enough to have the Roundhouse in my constituency, and I visited the launch of the Centre for Young Creatives not long ago. And there's some people in the audience who played a central part in that, remember that event. But that was giving children across the borough and that part of London state-of-the-art equipment. And you could see their eyes light up when they saw the equipment was for them, because it sent an incredible message to them that they were valued, and they treated that equipment with the utmost respect, whatever they'd been doing before in their lives. Because talent doesn't discriminate. Opportunity does. And I'm really proud that Britain punches above its weight in award shows around the world. But on the other hand, we all know there's more to do. Only 60% of nominations for solo awards over the last 10 years were state-educated. And yet, 94% of pupils attend state schools. Think of the opportunities we're missing. The huge talent we have in this country just waiting to be unlocked. And we don't just need people on stage and screen. We need people who make things happen behind the screen, whether that's a makeup artist, in management or manufacturing, as a set designer or a sound technician. Even a lawyer can be useful in the arts. But wherever young people end up, whatever they do in life, the creative problem-solving, curiosity and confidence that I learnt here all those years ago will be invaluable. And on Monday, I was at a school in Harlow. It was a primary school, and the children played some music for us. There was about 16 of them. And I saw what I knew I would see in those children, which is all of them looking up at the teacher to see exactly when they should come in for the part they were playing. Looking to either side because the other children were playing different instruments, playing a different part to make sure they understood how the team was going to work, and a real sense of responsibility that they had to play their part in a team to perform for us. Now, as you will all know, they're not just part of that performance in Harlow on Monday. They're the life skills that every employer values. Private schools sell themselves on this. And I want every child to have the same chance, to fall in love with the arts, to benefit from the skills it teaches, whatever they go on to do, and to know that it is possible to have a career that they can pursue. But, and this is important, in 2021, the government said that art subjects weren't a strategic priority. They said that they were focused on the subjects needed to build back better. But this zero-sum thinking between arts and sciences, to my mind, misses the point entirely. Because there's no building back without the arts. Arts and sciences aren't in competition. They're in collaboration, the spark of creativity that fuels every new discovery, idea and solution. You are the first brick in building back better. Look at this room. The engineering technology and scientific understanding to perfect the acoustics for that music that we heard this morning. And think of the imagination, the collaboration, and the love of music and architecture that inspired those to build this in the first place. So, to anyone who still thinks the arts are a soft subject, not a strategic priority, some sort of middle-class add-on, I say, you just don't get it. With Labour, creative skills won't be treated as a luxury, but as a necessity, because we know they're essential to our economic growth and our national identity. And that's why we have a plan. We know that the apprenticeship levy is too inflexible. That's why we'll create a growth and skills levy, so we can train the young creatives of tomorrow. And we'll create a new national body, Skills England, so people from every background and every region have the opportunities that they deserve. And we'll support technical skills too, at new technical excellence colleges, so the training available for our young people meets the needs of the creative industries. Technology and the arts working hand in hand. And of course, we'll champion our world-beating creative higher education. But all of this comes with a challenge, because in an industry dominated by freelancers and SMEs, we need to make sure that work always pays, because otherwise it becomes the preserve of the privileged. And that's bad for the industry, as well as bad for the people who work in it. So we'll level up workers' rights, crack down on late payments, end unpaid internships, and do our bit to support the arts and creative industries, to create more opportunities for working-class kids and more secure jobs in the sector. Because we want the arts to be for everyone, everywhere. And that's why we'll take art and culture across the country, working with national museums and galleries to put art where people are, in schools, in hospitals, town halls, community centres, shopping centres, as well as in local libraries and museums. And we can't let access to culture be at the mercy of ticket touts who drive up the prices. So a Labour government will cap resale prices so fans can see the acts that they love at a fair price. Art's for the people and by the people. Because this is something that I just don't think the Tories understand. Now look how the Tory Culture Secretary in 2014, you've got to go back 12 Culture Secretaries, by the way, for that, so there's a bit of imagination. But he said this, he said only the chattering middle classes and champagne socialists care about ticket prices. They think working people don't need culture. There's a patronising view that working people don't care, shouldn't care about the arts. When I went to see Dear England the other day, it was fantastic. But I saw many people in the audience who seemed to me that they hadn't necessarily been in the theatre before and perhaps had felt it wasn't for them, but were going to experience it for the first time. We should be welcoming and encouraging of everyone into our theatres, our museums and our galleries. I mean, just look how the Tories sneered at Angela Rayner for daring to enjoy the opera. Or try telling my dad, who loves Shostakovich, that working people don't need culture. Try telling that to the thousands of working-class kids who might long to work in the arts, but have got the message loud and clear from the government that it's not a real job. That ballet dancers should be retraining as cyber experts. But that's why the Tory culture wars always end up as a war on culture. The creative arts shouldn't tell working class kids to know their place. They should help them find their place in the world. Art and culture are about bringing us together, finding what we have in common, searching for the truth and meaning. But these culture wars are about dividing us, distracting us, and disrespecting working people. With Labour, the war on culture will end. We will build a new Britain out of the ashes of the failed Tory project. And culture will be at the core of each one of our 5 national missions. But that won't happen without all of you participating and being part of that. So we know our job is to create the conditions for you to take risks and to thrive, not to tell you what to create. Now, Labour's always understood this. From the Arts Council, when Labour put creativity at the heart of rebuilding out of the ruins of the war, to the Open University. From Jenny Lee, the First Minister for the Arts, to Chris Smith, who's here, who flung open the doors to our museums and galleries to the nation. And today, with Thangam Debonair, imagine a shadow culture secretary who cares about culture. But also, she won't mind me telling you this, she gets into trouble with the parliamentary authorities for practising her string quartet late at night in Parliament. Imagine a Shadow Secretary of State and Chancellor in Rachel Reeves, who fully understands the value of art, and a Shadow Education Secretary in Bridget, who's committed to putting creativity at the heart of the curriculum. Because we know that is how we will get this country back on track. And we will work together, hand in glove with our creative industries. No more sticking plaster politics, a long-term comprehensive plan for a decade of national renewal. Together, we will raise the next generation of creatives. Together, we will harness the power of your industry and create wealth in every community. Together, we will place the arts back where they belong, at the centre of a new, hopeful, modern story of Britain and what we stand for. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Yeah. You want to take that? Yeah. That was a great speech. I have to say, I was like, together, yes. Do all of it. Great. Okay, so we are now going to be taking some questions from the audience, and Keir will be answering them. And I have the names of the people that are asking questions. It's very exciting. My first question that we have is from Minnie Moll, the CEO of the Design Council.
Thank you, thank you. So, I realise not now, but in the future, do you feel that you really will be able to prioritise funding for the creative industries, given all the other critical and urgent calls for funding?
Well, look, thank you for raising the question of funding, because it is fundamental. I completely understand that. You will understand that if we are privileged enough to come into government, then we are sadly going to inherit a very broken economy, a broken public services, broken relationship with art and culture and almost everything else. And therefore, I can't sit here and pretend to you that we can simply turn on the tap straight away. That's not fair. I do think there are things we can do straight away, by the way. The curriculum change can be made straight away and will make a material difference. That's a very, very quick thing we can do. We can work with you. I was talking this morning to some of your colleagues about the ability, if you have the state shoulder behind funding, to try and get the private sector funding in alongside it. And if you have a government that's championing that along with you to encourage that in, that can happen. We do need to grow the economy. Again, that is not, I don't see growing the economy and arts and culture as two different buckets, if you like. They're one and the same thing. And that will then allow us to provide the funding in due course that is much needed and the support that is much needed. And that's the place we want to get to. But the reason I've said that it's going to be a decade of national renewal is to keep our feet on the ground, which is to say these things are going to take time if we're going to do them properly. But it is renewal that we're looking at, which is not just, picking things up and putting them back on their feet, but actually taking them forward in a material way. And making it a national project. Those things really matter, but working with you, I want to make sure we can provide that funding in the right way, but it's going to take time before we can turn those taps fully on for reasons that I think you'll understand. But we want to work with you from day one. In fact, before day one, because I think if we are to get this right, we need to make sure that we're doing a lot of the work now that I hope will be necessary if we get to a position where we can serve the country. Thank you.
Lara Carmona, the Director of Policy and Engagement at Creative UK.
You've spoken very beautifully about the centrality of the cultural and creative industries to all aspects of public life, really. So it would be wonderful to hear you talk about what the role of arts and culture is in your perspective to public services, including your key missions on education and health in particular.
I think this is really important. On education, and what I was trying to get across in the speech, and what I was obviously observing in Harlow, was what arts and culture, music, drama, dance give you if you're taught it is a love, usually, of whatever it is. I've got a lifelong love of music. Other people have of drama and art, or many of them. So there's this incredibly powerful thing that's passed on to children through education, that whether they're in the end any good at it or not, will stay with them. So when I got to the Guildhall School of Music, I realised I'd got here through working really hard, and lots of people had real talent. And I therefore don't play. But I've got a lifelong love of music. This has given me something invaluable for the rest of my life. But it's more than that, because I asked some of the children in Harlow on Monday, how did they feel performing that piece of music? And they said to me, happy, calm. And at a previous school the previous week, we were with a bunch of girls at a girls' school. And they talked about confidence that it had given them. These are really important things to education. But then, when I talk to businesses about, what inhibits them, they said, well, haven't got the skills we need. I said, well, talk me through that. And many of them say, we can give them the particular skills we need for this sector. What we can't give them is the ability to work as a team, the eye contact, the leadership, to speak confidently, all the things that I saw in the music lesson in Harlow on Monday. So there's this massive crossover. They're not in different places. But also, just to pick you up on the second issue, on health, because I think all of us would acknowledge that the mental health of our young people is a real cause for concern these days, probably a bigger cause for concern now than it's been for quite a long time. Music and art and culture can really help. It's documented the effect it has on children and young people to be involved in art and culture on their mental health and physical health. Dance or drama, these are amazing things. And if we're to achieve what we want to on education and or health, then it's got to be bound up with this sector. And that's why I think it is so dangerous to think of art and culture as a nice-to-have add-on rather than a central part of what we need to achieve elsewhere. And if we can bring that together and make that integration real, I think it will have a profound effect for generations to come. Thank you.
And now to Fran Heggie, the CEO of Edinburgh International Festival.
Thank you. Thinking about the context of arts and culture being devolved across the UK, it would be really great to hear what you think the role of arts and culture and heritage is in times that are difficult and divisive, perhaps internationally and indeed within the UK.
I think this is really important because whether it's domestically or actually internationally just at the moment, it feels that we're a more fractured, divided world than we were a generation ago. Partly that's driven by the politics of culture wars, where you your performance in government is so poor that you have to distract, and you distract by finding enemies that don't really exist, and then have a fight with them, which is exhausting and divisive, instead of actually bringing people together. And I think art and culture do bring people together, can bring people together. We all come together around art and music. We've all known that feeling. Sometimes it is about going to a theatre, a performance, but it's not. How do we remember people when they pass? We come together and we quite often play music that they liked, and we all, and when someone passes, there's people from all different parts of their life, some of them have never known each other, all come to one place to share together an experience, and that's what art and culture and media can do. But across the world as well, because I don't think we've lived in such a volatile time globally as we're living through at the moment, and you can see that whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Ukraine, or other places. And so this has the potential to reach across those divides. And the soft power international reputation that we have is huge. It is huge. And I'm very conscious that if we are privileged to come into power, one of our first tasks will be to restore the reputation of the UK on the world stage, which I think has been damaged. This can really help because it can reach and make bridges that might not otherwise be available, that sit alongside the political connection that has to be made. So I think there's a huge potential part to be played, but it does require a government with the right mindset that actually wants to bring people together rather than wants to divide. And that has to be, I hope, a reset moment if we get the opportunity at the next election to say to the nation, you don't have to fight each other all the time. You can have a sigh of relief. Come together, and you know what? We can do amazing things when we work together. I'll just finish it with one thing that I've always been struck with in the pandemic. Lots of people did lots of things to help other people, and we cherished all that. I was really struck by the simple things that people did. For example, walking up the road and knocking on the door of a neighbour that they didn't know at all or very well, and simply saying, "Are you all right?" And that's what we do best, actually, when we're left to our own devices. And so we can use the power of that. We should have bottled that and use it as the central driver in government. Instead, it's just been pushed to one side by a government that I don't think understands the power of coming together in community.
Thank you. Nigel Warner from the Motion Picture Association.
Thanks very much. I mean, I think we can all agree, how important the creative industries are and how they are, our best performing or one of our best performing industrial sectors. And it's great to hear you speak so passionately about how they'll be a core part of your plans for growth. But just picking up on your last point, perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about how you think you will use the soft power of the creative industries overseas in terms of foreign policy. Thank you.
Well, I think just really picking up on the last answer, I do feel that the reputation we have internationally is diminished. Before I came into the world of politics, I was running the Crown Prosecution Service, so I was representing England and Wales in various arenas, not only here in the UK, but also abroad. And people really looked to the UK for a lead role. What would you do? What's your answer to this? You're normally pretty pragmatic and sensible, and we can get behind what you have to say. That's changed. And I think we need to turn that round again, restore our place. And that comes through the political connections we have to make, but also through drawing on the reputation that we have internationally. When it comes to art and culture, media, dance, music, you name it, books, we're brilliant. This is not just talking it up. Too many people say global this and global that and world leading. Most of the time it's useless rhetoric from useless ex-prime ministers. But actually, we are really good at this. We are absolutely brilliant across the world, and we're recognised for it. I've forgotten these statistics. Something like 75% of people who are coming to the UK as tourists are coming because of what you do. That's incredible. That isn't just they're arriving here and spending their money and enjoying their time in our country. It means the reach of what you've done has got all the way to other countries across the world to a point where they, in deciding where do I want to go, they've decided I want to come to the UK because of the culture and the arts. And that is an incredible reputation that we should cherish and hold up rather than denigrating. It's why I feel so passionately about what we do at school. If that's going to continue, then we've got to have the next generation coming through. That won't happen if art and culture isn't counted. And if GCSE for art and culture has gone down 47%, that's terrible, by the way. That's really terrible. Those stats I gave you about state-educated kids making it through, which are challenging enough at the moment, think what they're going to look like in 10 years or 20 years if there's been a nearly 50% drop-off in arts and culture. So a huge amount of work to do.
There's a little sign here saying last question. So is this the last question, or do I do the other 2 questions? Anybody know? Shall I just follow the auto cue? Okay, I'll keep going, because you're all enjoying it so much. I just like to follow instructions.
I think it's probably a hint to me to stop going shorter
massive hit in
answers.
capital letters. Yes. All right, so we have Siva Kumar, the former CEO of Screen Skills.
Hi, I mentor young people, so I'm interested in what would you say to a parent who now considers arts education nice to have, that the arts are low value, or that they offer limited or no job prospects for their child, or that the jobs available are not inclusive or open to their children?
I think there's 2 different things there that we need to unpack, and I'll try to do it quickly, because I think it's really important. Firstly, I would understand that being said. I think it's wrong for all the reasons I said in my speech, because it's not an add-on, it's essential quality. And I would talk them through what business says to me about what they're looking for the leaders in any sector. And so I think there we can directly address it. The second one is equally important, because it's not just the parent who says it's not a proper subject, although it is that. It's also the parent and the kid who says it's not for me. It's not for me. I couldn't do that. And I think that voice in the back of people's heads that said, this isn't for me, is a massive inhibitor. And it's a big inhibitor for working class kids. That's why getting all you into school, getting kids into what you're doing is hugely important. You can't aspire to do something you don't know anything about. And many working class kids don't know anything about it. That's why I referenced Dear England. I'm really pleased that's going on tour in Liverpool, Leeds and Manchester, because I think that a lot of kids who wouldn't otherwise go to the theatre might say, oh, that's about football, I'll go to the theatre. And I'll bet you when they get in the theatre, they think, this is really good, I might do this again. And it opens a door from them. So both of those things are really, really important. Thank you. That was quicker.
Good, very good. Getting it. You can come to my set anytime. So, we're going to have to wrap it up. So that was the last question, but it was a great one. Well done. That was great. But you proved that you can speed up, so, I mean, you know, what do they know? Right, so thank you to the audience for those questions, and thank you, Keir, very much for your time. It marks the end of your time here with us today.
Thank you, Kush.
Lovely to meet you.
Thanks so much.
Round of applause for Keir.
Thank you.
Oh.